The process of getting parole sometimes involves making an application to a statutory body called the Parole Board, who looks at each individual case as it arises and decides whether that person should be released on parole or whether they should stay in custody for more time. There are many issues they look at when they're doing that, but one of them is actually looking at what issues may have led the person to committing offences in the first place, and what's the risk of them reoffending if they're released at an early stage. This is where this idea of relapse prevention comes into play, because the parole board is always interested to see if the person applying for parole has given some thought to how they might conduct themselves when they're released, so that they don't run the risk of reoffending in a similar way again. A classic example of the drug offences, where people may have committed quite serious drug offences and in circumstances where their own drug use has led them into that behaviour. And if released, and if they go back to, say, heavy drug use, they may be making themselves vulnerable to committing the kind of offences that got them into jail in the first place. By a relapse prevention plan, sometimes it means having the person making arrangements to engage with relevant professionals or organisations or family members, such that they minimise the risk of that reoffending. It may mean a person with a drug problem having an arrangement in place when they're released to start a counselling program, so that they can move seamlessly from the jail to the community with expert assistance and guidance. That sort of thing tends to minimise the risk of reoffending, and those sorts of things are, I think, what the parole boards have in mind when they talk about a relapse prevention plan. They want the person to have thought about it, to have something in place, and then they're more comfortable about releasing them on parole.